Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to talk about presentations for Chem 4410 this semester. So there are two basic sets of presentations that we will be focusing on this semester. One of those types comes from, when you're doing experiments 1 through 3, our basic experiments taking place in the lab, your in-person experiments. So students on the same experiment may work on a presentation together, ideally collaborating through Zoom. You could also still prepare your own presentations if preferred. Um, there will generally be about 4 students at most assigned to one of these experiments at the same time. So all the students on experiment 1 could prepare a single presentation. All the students on experiment 2 likewise could prepare a single presentation, or some of the students or each of the students could individually prepare their presentations. So address the key items in the handout. Usually there's a discussion or sort of a bullet points of what should be included within the presentation. So look for that information towards the end of the handout. And then you're ideally just showing your data, summarizing your results within the presentation. We don't need much of an introduction at all. If you need me to help explain to the class how you collected some of the data, I can do that. So you really don't need to focus on your introduction or experimental details. Really just showing your data and your analysis is kind of the goal here. This really allows me to see if you're doing your calculations correctly. It allows me to give you some feedback before you actually turn any work in sort of for a grade. So before you submit your handout or your narrative conclusions, this gives you a chance to get some feedback. So try to keep presentations to about 5 minutes if you're working within a group. Try to be under about 3 minutes if you're working alone. If you're working alone, just think about preparing, minimal slides of just your data and some of your results. Maybe like a table of some of your results of your calculations. You don't need to show like your handwritten calculations or anything like that. Try to think of just showing your data, show your results, show some of the results of calculations along the way. Like if you're working on calorimetry, show some of your, there's like a table you're making. Try to show that table of data so that we can see you going through those calculations within that table. And if mistakes are made, usually I can catch it within, like, when you're showing your data there. So plan for, if you're having a group prepare a presentation, plan on one of the members sharing a screen during a Zoom session to submit the presentation. Each of the group members could discuss and talk during the presentation over Zoom. So we can creatively use Zoom to present these presentations. Um, Whoever is preparing and presenting the slide can also submit it to Carmen. Only one person needs to submit it if you're submitting slides as a group. Try to put all the contributing authors' names on the first slide so we know who all is working together on that particular presentation. The experiment 1 to 3 presentations will start during the lecture time slot, so we'll start these at 8:30 for the morning class, 1:15 for the afternoon class. And attendance is only going to be required for you during the rounds that you're assigned to do experiments 1 through 3. So if you're assigned to the research project for a particular round, you don't need to attend the experiment 1 through 3 presentations. So imagine the experiment 1 through 3 presentations are kind of like a group meeting for the students who are doing in-person experiments for that round in the laboratory. The other type of presentations we do are focused on the research project. Um, the experiment 6 lab handout discusses, what to do with the presentations. There's actually 4 presentations that you will be required to give, 2 during round 1, and then 1 during each rounds 2 and 3. The round 1 presentation involves each individual in the class preparing a literature presentation on a physical chemistry journal article. This is described within that experiment 6 handout. There's a video as well on that particular presentation. Look for that if you're interested in more information. There's also a presentation of the overview of your proposal. You might be preparing this proposal within a group. If so, this is a group presentation. If you're preparing your proposal by yourself, then this would just be an individual proposal overview. And think about the same time allotments for these presentations, about 5 minutes per presentation for the literature presentation, and then for the proposal, aim for about 5 minutes or so for those working in groups, and just a quick 3-minute, real quick overview of your proposal um, uh, if you're working individually. The round 2 presentations are a group meeting style update. So all the students working on the research project will get together for an update on their results. And then the round 3 presentation is a formal final presentation. So the most of the presentations here are short and simple until we get to that round 3 presentation where it can be a little bit longer, a little bit more on the formal side. What you're going to do here is you're going to attend the research project, the research project presentations when you're assigned to do experiment 6, when you're assigned to the research project, that is. And then we're going to ask everyone in the class attend the final presentations that take place during rounds 5 and 6. So during one of those rounds, you'll be in the lab on experiments 1 through 3. So we'll ask that you still attend these research presentations when you're on experiments 1 through 3 for one of those rounds. So we want everybody to watch the final presentations to get a sense of what the class came up with for their research projects. So the research project involves 3 rounds, so 9 lab periods dedicated to the project. A lot of time spent on presenting, getting some feedback, and moving on from that feedback. So use these presentations for those on experiments 1 through 3, and for those in the research project to get some feedback on your work and move forward in a productive way in the class. All right, that's all for today, or all for this video.